let's go.
Hi, Kat Chancellor here with Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and furloughed federal worker. So I've got some extra time. I wanted to show you a card. I actually did this whole recording last week, but as it would work out, I totally lost my recording. So I have to re-record it today. It was an hour and a half, so I'm going to try to break it down and do it as efficiently as possible because it was a lot of work and I worked a couple of days just trying to see if I could get my recording back and I couldn't. So I was really quite distressed. But I love this project so much that I really thought it was worth coming back around and trying to do it for you. So here it is. It was inspired by Sam Calcutt from England. It's called a springy sided book frame card. I think I'm just kind of calling it a spooky springy sided card or a springy sided spooky card. But I'm using some of the products that I've used before from the Spooky Halloween, as well as the Fright Night set and the dies, as well as some extra products that you might recognize and some retired products you might recognize. For example, I'm going to be using, for my background texture, I'm going to be using this Woodland textured embossing folder. I have brought in some of these special dies here that are trees that I'm going to be using, and these are called the Beautiful Trees and the Inspiring Canopy set. With that set, Inspiring Canopy set or Spooky or one of the sets will come this neat little die here, and this die is going to help to cut our front and back grounds. And I just want to show you the two samples that I have here that I'm using for the card. This one I just had kind of a flat. This was my first effort. My second effort, I actually have kind of a background foreground there, and I'm going to create that as well. You can see I have the different types of trees, the canopy tree, and then just simply the Beautiful Trees dies. I'm using some holographic cardstock for my Eek and my Boo. I have some bats there, and you'll also notice there's some really neat shimmer there. Well, that shimmer is going to come from my Distress Spritz that I have from her. So this is really cool stuff. I've used it on a couple of other projects, so I'm going to be using it on this project as well. I'm using the weathered wood and some, I believe this is rusty hinge. So I'll show you how I put that together. I'm also using some vellum because those are those wonderful little spider web dies that I'm going to cut out. I've got a little fence here that I'm using, and then on the back I'm going to have a stand that we're going to build so that your card can stand on a bookshelf or a fireplace mantle. So that's kind of cool. And you can see you can stamp a sentiment in the back. So for this project you are going to need, and I will have all this laid out, but I'm just going to go through it quickly here. You're going to need two 6x6 pieces, and you will need another 6x6 piece that you will emboss. I've already done that. Then you're going to have a piece, and this is going to be a top piece that we are going to use. We're going to cut out a square. Now you can use dies if you want, but I didn't have the size dies that I needed. So I'm going to cut out my frame using a piece, just simply some chipboard that I had, and I'm going to use about 3/4 inch all the way around. So that's going to cut out an aperture that's going to go over our project right here, and you can see how that's used to go there. You're then also going to need 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, and these are going to be 3x6. We're going to score these because these are going to form our frames, and I'll show you how to put those together. So that's kind of like the basis of the card. Now I did forget to mention that for our back stand you're going to need a piece that's 10.5 by 6, and we're going to score that as well to kind of build our back stand as well. Now I'm going to cut out some pieces with some of these dies. Primarily this die, this haunted house die, I haven't used before. I'm going to be using it for this project because that's what's going to create our neat little haunted house. And you can see I've added some extra texture, and I'm going to show you how I did that. And I'm going to be using one of Sizzix's 3D mini embossing folders that are available by Sizzix. They have them in several different textures. This one here was brick. I'm going to use stone. So you're going to have to cut 3 pieces, and I have them. You're going to cut one in black, you're going to cut one in basic white, and you're going to cut one in crumb cake. This is the one that we're going to run through and texturize. As you can see, I've already done that. And then you're going to go ahead and cut one out in black, and this is going to create kind of all our roofs, frames, and our window frames for our haunted house. So we're going to put that aside. I have my 2 pieces of spider web in vellum. You're going to need at least 2 pieces of the fence that are going to be cut in crumb cake, and we're going to add some special spritz on there to kind of make it stand out. You're going to need a piece of black cardstock, and this measures about 5 by 3, and then we're going to use this die here to basically cut out our front and back hills for our card, and we're going to cut that in half using that. Additionally, I've got some bats that I'm cutting out using this bat die, and you're going to need at least 3 bats cut out, and I'm going to use some special spritz to kind of make them glimmer and gleam as well. So that's pretty much all. The other thing I forgot to mention, and you might recognize this from another project, but this is that really cool little cauldron, bubbly cauldron that we did in another project, and I'll have that featured down in the description link. That kind of is nice and witchy, and that's going to go in the corner of our card here. Okay, so let's get started by doing some of the spritzing, and I'm going to move some of these dies out of the way. Let's do some of the spritzing with our background here that is going to be done, and I'm using cracked pistachio. Now when you shake these, you want to kind of turn them upside down and see if you notice if there's any kind of the mica, the nice little glitter stuff. If it's clear like that, you can see if it's kind of clear and you don't have any at the bottom, like this one here, if you can see that, it's well mixed. If you've got grunge, and here you can see there's kind of that grungy mica, it's subtle to the bottom, well, you've got to keep shaking it. You want to hear that little shaker, shake. And I'm just going to spray that, and that gives it a nice gleam. We're going to let that one dry. We're also going to take our little fences here, and I have 2 fences, and I'm going to grab my rusty hinge. There, now it's all clear, so I can spritz, and that's all I really want to do. I just want to give it a little bit of spritz there, and it's going to give it a nice sheen for our fences. So I'm going to put our fences aside, and now I'm going to grab my bats. So I have several bats here that I'm going to kind of lay out right there, and we are going to color these using, I'm going to use something like, this is called Wilted Violet. Shake that, and we're going to, and look how nice that kind of makes that bat kind of glimmer. So that's Wilted Violet, and I've done that. Now I'm going to, this is almost dry, but I'm going to set these aside to dry while we do the first part of our card, which is going to be the background. So we do need to bring in a piece of paper towel. I'm going to grab my background that I have emboss, and I'm going to bring in some Distress Oxide inks, and I've picked several of them, and I'm going to start with the lightest. I've got Wild Honey, Abandoned Coral, Seedless Preserves, and Peacock Feathers. So I have a little dauber here. I'm going to start with Wild Honey, and I'm just going to grab, and I have each one of these are kind of separated. This might have some green, but I'm not really going to worry about it. My house is going to go right about here, so I'm just going to take some of this Wild Honey, and I'm just going to do that spot like that. I'm going to put that one aside. I'm going to take this one off, and now we're going to use some Abandoned Coral, and that's this one right here. And I'm going to grab some, and then I'm just going to add some right there. And kind of blend it into my Wild Honey. I'm just kind of creating and there we go. Now we're just going to put these aside, and what we're going to do is I'm going to grab a little bit of, this is Fossilized Amber. I'm just going to spray that in the middle. This is Pickled Raspberry. Add that, and then my last one is going to be Weathered Wood, and this is kind of our the darkest color that we have, and we're just gonna that's our background, and it kind of has that nice shimmer. So I'm going to set this aside, because now this is going to dry. Now, while that dries, I'm going to bring in my cutting mat, and I'm going to bring in, I've got to make sure my fingers are clean. Okay, so now we have our cover. This is drying nicely, and that's going to go nicely over that. Okay, so now that we've cut our frame, now we're going to cut, or rather the front of our card. Now we're going to grab our scoreboard, and we're going to put together our frame. And I'm using 3 pieces of this that's 3 by 6. And I'm going to score at 3/4, 1 1/2, and 2 1/4. Alright, now we're going to fold these, and I'm going to grab a bone folder, and I'm going to get these out of this ink here. We're going to just basically kind of do a mountain valley fold. And I have an extra one here, because this one got kind of, if I did it too hard, it's going to crack. So we're going to just kind of use this extra one here. Now, the way that we're going to connect this is you're going to need some glue. So you're going to put glue in this back corner here, and you're going to grab one, and you're just going to place it right there at that corner. You're going to fold this down, and you're going to make sure that that's, you know, nice and tight, kind of at right angles. You're going to put that one there, fold it down, put glue over here, and fold that down. Okay, so there is our frame. You can see we have little areas there that we can kind of begin to slip in some of our pieces and parts. So here is our background, and we're going to apply our background to the back of our card. I'm just going to cut it down just a smidge. I would think, I don't know, no more than 1/16 of an inch. I just have to do it on two sides, just a 1/16 of an inch. I'm just kind of shaving just a very small amount, and that's just going to make sure that this is going to fit nicely on the back of our frame. And then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and put some glue here. There it is, and you can see how nice this is going to fit right over that. Okay, so now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to grab my black piece here, and I'm going to take it and cut that like that. Now I have these cut like that, and that's going to be. Now if I wanted to change it around, I could do like that, and then I would spray this side. But I'm going to go ahead and leave that like that, and that is going to basically create our back. Right there. And then I'll have a front right up in front. Now I'm not going to glue that yet, because the next thing we have to do is I'm going to pull in these little houses. Now this is the piece I cut basic white cardstock, but I texturized it with that embossing folder. So I'm going to take a sponge dauber, and I'm just going to go, and I'm just going to very lightly rub that top surface, so you can see, you can kind of begin to see the stones. Now I'm going to take a darker color, And I'm just going to kind of go kind of around the edges. So I use Vintage Photo and Walnut Stain and a couple of sponge daubers for that, to create that effect. Now this is going to go on top of this. I can glue that, but before I glue that, we're going to do something else. Now this, I'm going to grab my little shears and we're going to start cutting out portions of this house that are going to serve as architectural features. Now what's really kind of cool about this is that there's already like cut lines already kind of prepared for you here, so it's just a lot easier to cut. So now we're just going to grab our glue and we're just going to start. Okay, so there's our haunted house. Now I'm going to grab, this is a template I made that basically fits behind this house. I'm going to take this template and I am going to cut a piece of yellow vellum . Okay, so there is the front of my haunted house. Now I'm just going to put that on top of this. So there's my haunted house, and my haunted house is going to go right here. And I did cut out a tree that's going to go right there. Okay, so now we're going to grab our front piece that's going to go right there. And there's Happy Halloween. And then we're going to lay that right there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to grab my scoreboard because we're going to score the back of our kind of the stand that we need, and we're going to score that at 1/2, at 1.5, at 2.5, and at 6.5. We're going to fold this, and it's going to be kind of, we're going to have a mountain valley. So this is going to go against the back. So what I want to do is before I glue this, I'm going to grab some this and some pumpkin pie. I'm going to grab this. I haven't used this. So that is my back. So now I'm going to take this, we're just going to glue this. Okay. Now we will grab the back of this. We have another piece. Close. Now I'm going to grab a piece of tear tape. I'm going to put tear tape right up to the edge. And right to the bottom of this. Okay. And we're going to stand this up. And we're just going to put that like that. Okay, and we can turn this around. Grab this piece of tear tape here. And there it is. So now I want to grab a piece of cardstock, and we're just going to put this Okay, so now we're going to grab, I have Eek, Boo, I have Bats, and I have a cauldron. So the cauldron is going to go, it's going to go right there. And now and there we go. I'm just going to add some, these are just some glow in the dark paint that is available on Amazon. Okay, there you go. A nice spooky Halloween card, not too hard to make. Lots of pieces and parts, but you really enjoy making it because I think it'll bring a lot of delight to whoever gets this card. If you haven't already, please hit like. All products are available on my online store. There will be a link below as well as some information on dimensions on my blog. If you are looking for a demo, please consider joining my team. Consider joining as a hobbyist to enjoy a 20% discount, and Stampin' Up will be having some extra incentives to join in the month of October and November. If you are a demo and you like my content, please support my channel. It's free. All you have to do is hit like, share, and leave a comment. This is Kat Chancellor for Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. Wishing you a happy Halloween and happy stamping.